Hello gang, how are you? Thank you for tuning in. You, like me, are looking at our new website. Not fully loaded with everything we've got for it, but it's looking good nevertheless. Sat in with me this evening, I have my partner in crime.
That's me, Andy.
Hello,
good evening.
and we have our third musketeer. We do have our third musketeer. Good evening to Stuart. How are you, bud?
Hello, hi.
Alrighty. Now, we do have a guest this evening. Her name is Mary Fee, and she is representing Let's Link UK.net. And she's going to talk to us about local exchange and trading schemes that are running all over the country. We think that nobody's up to anything, and the fact of the matter is there's all sorts going on.
There is.
So, let's get the show started good and proper. Going to get Mary with us in about 15 minutes, but as usual, we do look back at the week we've just had. And it's been a very interesting week, hasn't it?
It certainly
has. It
has.
has. We started with this inner scene. It's a goddamn arms race, not by mistake, of course. I'm looking at our first news, our north, east, west and south story, and that is that Tintin, it is Tintin,
does,
he
yeah.
looks like Tintin.
Just make his hair ginger.
Yeah, David
Tintin.
Cameron, but I know him better as Tintin, and I see William Hague as that little dog Snowing, but he hasn't got as much hair as the dog. Anyway... So, Tintin's off to the Middle East to keep the peace by selling them weapons.
Yeah.
I mean, here we are then. So, they're going to get all our old stuff.
Yeah.
We get the new stuff. And then in the coming years, they'll have to use it. And then we'll get the new stuff and they'll get the old stuff.
They get the hand-me-downs out the toy box, don't they?
Yeah, they do, yeah. It's just... How does this go on worldwide and nobody actually sort of says, hang on a minute, hang on a goddamn minute. What you got? You laughing away at yourself.
They're doing all this and at the same time they're banning kids from playing with conkers in the player.
Yeah, exactly. 90% of the globe has been invaded by the Brits at some point or another. I don't say we because I had nothing to do with it. We just bankroll the whole bloody shebang, don't we?
We do.
We do bankroll it. So, what you spotted what's in the news for you this week? What came up as first? What was, you usually have something that has caught your eye or ear on Agenda 21. You know Radio Agenda 21?
I do, yes.
Yes, of course.
It's just been full of the American election, really, which we know is a sham. And
ladies and gentlemen, roll up.
Which one are you going to vote for?
You can have corrupt number 1 or corrupt number 2. Which one would you like?
Yep.
I mean, we laugh, don't we? But this is the leader of what we call the free world, isn't it? The Americans have been asked to select their next leader for the free world, and we know that they're as corrupt can be. I mean, I think if they actually gave them guns in Congress, I reckon they'd shoot it out. I reckon they would, because it's proper Wild West politics, isn't it? They really do. And they don't care.
No.
They physically are not bothered, who knows. They are so brazen about this now. Yeah, we do invest in the stock market. Yes, we do, yes. I mean, it's really an election for Goldman Sachs, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
That's whose election it is. You know, services produced and directed by Goldman Sachs. In association with JP Morgan, Citibank, bloody Barclays, HSBC.
Oh yeah, they're all in there.
Well, did you click the news story about New York, where the only building with lights on was JP Morgan? Oh no, sorry, no, it might have been Goldman Sachs. It was one of them.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do know that we are watching the fall of what we will refer to as freedom, because freedom is going to disappear as we know it today. And unfortunately the public will actually be okay with it, because as we become less and less able to do anything for ourselves, Big Mummy and Big Daddy step in and say, don't you worry, leave that to us. I mean, let's have a little look at the things that we no longer do for ourselves. Let's go back as far as we can. Do we grow our own food to any extent?
Nope. No,
we don't really. 90% have no idea, not a clue.
No.
We don't grow our own food. Do we make our own clothes?
No.
Do we make our own clothes in the UK? Not really, no. Do we make our own shoes? Nope. Do we have our own independent water supply? No. Electric? No. Gas? No. Water? No. Nothing. So the fact of the matter is that we've handed over all our power to them.
Yep.
Now, I know people say, well, we've got to work electric, gas and water like that. Yeah, we do. But it used to be in public ownership, didn't it?
It did.
We actually used to say, that's ours. It belongs to this country, and the profit is reinvested to provide the service to all as required. And then, through politicking, right, they ran it down, made it so it was no longer profitable.
Yep.
So they say, because they make and play all parts of this game, don't they?
Yep.
So they decide that it's not making money. They decide that it's now inefficient. They decide that private business can run it better, and then they sell it and keep the money. It's
pretty much.
It is. I mean, how do these people get away with this stuff? It beats me, I'll tell you. Right. What else we got in the news today then? Because we have got an awful lot of news stories.
There's tons of news stories.
It is actually, it's quite upsetting. Every week I go looking, I find more and more and more.
What about
unbelievable? What
microwaving your sperm?
Now that follows on from last week's guest, and you were listening, weren't you?
Yep. I found that very interesting.
And we have from the Daily Phil, we have a news article. Stu, do you want to go with that?
Yeah, basically it's putting down the loss of a gentleman's sperm. I won't mention any names because someone needs to respect his privacy. But the doctors have said that heat from a laptop has damaged his sperm. No actual indication where the heat.
Well, they are now the proud mums and dads of a baby. So after the doctors said that it was the laptop and the heat from the laptop that was perhaps making his sperm infertile. But what's wrong with that article? We've actually discussed this already because it doesn't go far enough, does it?
No.
It says heat.
They mention heat, but they don't include any of the microwave emissions or anything like that.
Because it's radiated microwaves.
Which are Wi-Fi.
Which what most people would think, and most people who read that story will think it's because he's got his laptop on his lap, and laptops underneath are warm. People won't actually get the microwave radiation that they're actually talking about here. Because I think with news articles, I think people only ever read about the first paragraph. This is what you want, this is what you get. I played a little bit of that because that is what's happening in the world. We're made to want these things, but they tell us that these are good for us. This will help, and we can't see the rise of the machines that is going to eliminate us eventually. Let's change the subject then. Let's change the subject a little bit. One of my YouTube favourites. I think you might recognise him, and I think today's rant is especially pertinent to where we're going next. Have a little listen to this one. If I can actually press the right button.
David Cameron's ordered an inquiry, well actually two inquiries. One inquiry is into an inquiry that they did before. Now this is an inquiry into that. Because they want to know. Yeah? They want to know about Tories, paedophilia. What? They already know. They know everything. But they just do it. They're just doing it. It's just an inquiry to make you think that they are keeping themselves under control. Because they can't help themselves. See, these people won't stop. David Cameron is out selling arms, tomahawks, missiles, CS gas, rubber bullets into the House of Saud, into the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain. He's out in the Middle East with despots. and he says, I don't care. I don't care. He gets British jobs. And you have to get that in your nut and understand what this is all about. See, the hacking into dead children's parents' phones and the cover-up with Rebecca Brooks, Andy Coulson, the media, the Murdochs, the police. The police are involved in the raping of children, in the paedophilia. Can you imagine that? Can you get that in your nut? See, people don't want to hear it. They're sticking their fingers in their ears, going, no, no, no. Because they don't want to hear it. Who do you want to vote for? Do you want to vote for a really, really bad man? A bad man so bad, he's going to hurt you. He's going to hurt your family. He's going to destroy your country, your hospitals, your schools. I just want a really bad man, because that's your choice. This other man, he's really bad. He'll destroy everything. Which one do you want? Because that's democracy. And that's what this is all about.
You have to listen to him. You do have to listen to him. He does. The passion is there. He absolutely is. You can't argue. You just can't argue with him at all. I mean, I love listening to him. I don't agree with everything, and sometimes the cuss words get a little extreme, but he's right.
You're listening to Critical Mass Radio. Now it's our turn.
Right. Okay. So we're going to come back to this paedophilia thing because it's not going away, and I don't want it to go away. I actually don't want it to go away because we've got a chance here to actually really rock the boat from our side of the boat.
Yeah.
Because they are all, to some extent, complicit. Now, we cannot sit here and say how many, but we can now say that I think they're a little bit bloody nervous, don't you?
I think they might.
I mean, you know, there's an awful lot going on. I mean, well done to that MP that stood up. Well done to him.
Yeah, Tom Watson.
Yeah, well done to Tom Watson. We've actually got the letter that he sent to...
Why is it coming out now, though?
Well...
Why now?
Who knows who's behind the releases? Who knows? Who knows what Jimmy Savile's connections were, and who knows how those connections were released when he died? That's all we can go with. Mm-hmm. You know, whatever it was that allowed this information to come out was only allowed to come out after he died. Mm-hmm. So who was he affecting to stop the release? Mm-hmm. That's all we can say, isn't it? Well, plus, we do know that you can't hide lies forever. You can't get away with it forever.
You can't. That's why they have the 30-year thing, don't they?
Well, and it is about 30 years. They're trying to say now. This was back in the 80s, and you know, well, everybody. You know, ask a general member of the public. They think it's Freddie Starr, Gary Glitter, and Jimmy Savile, and all the rest are just mudslinging, and that's what all the press is doing. They're actually just saying the same thing day after day after day, but not giving us anything that we actually can use.
No.
And yet we now can openly see police refusing to investigate, refusing to actually take to court. Why? It makes you ask why, doesn't it?
It does.
And you know the answer. That's the scary thing. You know the answer. Because they can't. Because they bloody well can't. That's the scary bit. Right, we're going to come back to those subjects in a little while. And, right, okay. A little message from Paul there. I thought, what have I done now? But we're okay. We're okay. Right, let's see if we can get her on then. And let's see how we get on. You've got the bio there, have you, please? Have you got the bio?
Yeah, we've got the bio of Mary Fee from L.E.T.S.
Okay.
Which is spelled L.E.T.S, local exchange trading systems or schemes, a local community-based mutual aid networks in which people exchange all kinds of goods and services with one another without the need for money. L.E.T.S are revitalising communities throughout Britain. As grassroots initiatives, they are open to everyone, people of all ages, skills and abilities, local clubs and associations.
Well done, and the website is letslinkuk.net. A very good evening to Mary. How are you, Mary Fee?
Oh, hello.
Hello, we can hear you loud and clear. If you've got a little bit more volume for us, I'll take it from you, but if you haven't, I'll just tighten my headphones. Hello, Mary.
Okay, how's that?
That's absolutely.
I'm a bit closer.
That's absolutely fine. Thank you for joining us here at Critical Mass. It is a pleasure to have your company. I have sat with me Andy and Stuart. Don't always have the three of us together, but we have this evening. So, guys, could you just...
Good evening, Mary.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi.
Right, well, Mary, this is the first time that we have actually done this live on the radio, and really, I've read your website through, and I see the good work that you're doing, and I wonder if you could share with us what you share with others about what letslinkuk.net is doing.
Okay, well, basically, we're top of Google. If you type Let's into Google, Google knows us. And even though we've never asked Google anything special, Google knows that we link out to all the L.E.T schemes that there are. Now, it looks a bit old-fashioned, but it works. It's all divided up into areas. And when you click through, you in each area, you get through to the areas like regions, then counties, and then the icons or links, or if there's no website, just the telephone number of all the L.E.T groups in the country. And if they haven't got a web link, you can click on that page for the county, and they get the message saying, "Can I join your L.E.T scheme?" So that was that site tries to put people who are looking for L.E.T.s in touch with the L.E.T.s organisers all over the country.
Yeah, I've seen that website, Mary, and it does link through.
That's one part of it.
Yeah, you're acting like an umbrella for all these schemes, aren't you? Now, they're not all called L.E.T.s, are they? I know I tried to look for it. We have one apparently in Leeds, but I couldn't actually find the one that it's called in Leeds. How would people go and find that? We have listeners in Manchester as well. How would they go and find their local L.E.T.s group?
Well, sometimes I don't know about them, but they do have different names. Sometimes they call themselves different names, like... there was one in the north of England got in touch, and they said they were called Exchange and Change. Sometimes, normally they do call them L.E.T.s, but there's different. I've heard of different variations.
I see. Yeah.
So it's a thing that's kind of branched off into different types of things. Now, some L.E.T schemes, they call themselves L.E.T systems. They thought we are going to be like sterling currency, and except it's running in parallel. They call them themselves L.E.T systems. And some of them, quite early on, and I'm talking about all this really started in the 90s, some of them said, oh no, we're not really like money. It's all about our time, and our time is equal. So if whatever kind of thing you're doing, whether you're doing a therapy or babysitting or whatever it is, they said your time is equal. So L.E.T groups tend to, they kind of make up the details for themselves. So Let's Link UK, before I became responsible in the year 2000, Liz Shepherd was working through right from, she set it up formally in 1991, and she published the info pack, and she said, this is how to do it. But then people have kind of varied it as they've gone. And it all started before the internet. And it's hard to believe now, but because most people listening probably don't even know what life was like before the internet. But, you know, we used paper and photocopying and...
post-it notes.
Yeah. And paper checks just like banks. So there'd be one person, they might have a database or a spreadsheet, or sometimes, you wouldn't believe it, they even had card indexes or just books, just ledgers, you know, like in old-fashioned banks. And... So if somebody has done a good deed for somebody and they pay them with a cheque, then it gets handed in or posted in to the L.E.T accountant, and then they do the transaction for the person, and then every 3 months or 6 months they get a list of their account. So it was all rather slow motion, it was only really towards the end of the 90s that we in the organisation started using email, sending notes to each other and messages, minutes and that type of thing. It's hard to believe that it's not that long ago that all these things were new. And I was waiting because I knew that this should be online, but I had to wait until the software came, and then lots of people wrote software, but it didn't work because you had to really understand what organisers were doing running a group, because in a way it's such a hybrid thing. It's like a club. It's like a community of people. You've got to communicate with them, you know, arrange socials for them, send them newsletters, you know, keep them interested in whatever way you can. And at the same time, you're a sort of mini bank. So it's got such a wide range of activities in it that you have to have a kind of team of people who've got all these skills, because not everybody's multi-skilled to run the whole thing. So it's like a teamwork. And so as I've gone on, it's become a fascinating project, really trying to support the groups. We link out to all of them, But some of them have come to me and said, well, you've got this software, can you install the software for us? And I've actually turned into quite a techie, although I never was a techie. I've had to learn this stuff. And so, and teach them how to do it. And also, it's really, really important that you've got a balanced team and that you've got the right sort of, you've got the kind of a balanced team and the levels of access and all that type of thing. And some people are really sociable, they can arrange parties and things, and they just don't like technical things at all. And some people are quite nerdy, and they're very good at that. So if you have the right group, then you can run it. So that's quite a sort of, I suppose that's social science, really. It's like running a business at the same time as running a social group. So there's quite a lot to making it successful.
But it is a very successful business, though, because you can only benefit by association. I mean, you can sit down and watch television. Well, I call the television the revenue reducer because you're not getting anything from it at all. You're giving your time for free to them, and you think, well, hang on, my time is more valuable than that. My time has got to be more valuable than that, and you've created a way of people to understand their time a little better. Would that be right?
Yeah, because I'll just divert a little bit and say how I'm in touch with many people who want to bring about economic reform, and there's so many different ideas. It's overwhelming, but quite often they're saying, well, we've got to get rid of capitalism, or we've got to get rid of banks, or we've got to do this or that. And it's something that all these things would require a campaign of years to change the law. But the wonderful thing about these community currencies is that the law allows us to do it. We can have free association, we can make whatever arrangements we can with people. It's just our ingenuity. And you see, all the time, we are trading with each other. If you think of what goes on in a family, husband, wife, children, grandparents, they're all interacting, they're all trading with each other, but these trades are not with numbers, they're not written down, and it's called altruism. And it doesn't have a sort of plus-minus aspect to it. It has a plus-plus aspect to it, because you're all trying to make everybody happy, and that's the kind of closest to home kind of trading you can do. And then this is a kind of permaculture. When I went to permaculture training, I could see this map of where they lay it out, that you've got what's going on in the house, what's going on in the garden, where you have the flowers and lettuces that you can just sort of go and pick for your daily salad, and then further out you've got your vegetables, and then a bit further out you've got your orchard, and then further out it's really scary in the wild woods. So economics is like that, because it's warm and comfortable close to home. And then further out, the really scary place is like international trading. And normal money is sort of like in the vegetable patch or the orchard, where you know what the rules are. If you do the right thing, and it's plus and minus, you know, when you go to the shop and you buy and they give you a precise tray, that's the sort of market that we're all fairly comfortable with. But then there's this area that's in between that and the family, which is your friends, where we're always trading favours. So there is a kind of energy, and there is something being exchanged. And sometimes this is all that people have got if they haven't got any money. So what community currencies do is they say, well, let's count the numbers. So yes, I'm babysitting, I'm looking after somebody's kids, somebody's coming around cooking a meal, and I may not know these people. So if you have a club, people that you don't know will come in and join this club, and then they'll make friends. And so you can do the numbers and say, well, we haven't got much money, but I can do sewing, she can do washing, she can do cooking, he can do gardening, and you can all help each other without the need for the sterling money. But what then happens is some people might be using it as part of their normal business, which is fine. They may need to include their client base. There's a lot of therapists do this. They're already doing that as part of their business, and it gives them some more clients, and they do that. And it's great to have tradesmen, because it's really, that's really sort of much needed, but you have to kind of persuade them to join. But the trouble is that some people get so friendly when they make their friends that they forget all about the trading, and then it starts getting more like home. So if you're going to run a group successfully, you have to be a little bit aggressive with your outreach. In other words, you have to not rest on your laurels and keep with the same group that all get to know each other. You've got to keep pushing out into the community and interest more people. Otherwise, it becomes too informal. So there's quite an art to keeping it going and keeping it balanced. And you have to think of outings. So one of my favourite L.E.T.S groups in London, they have I forget what you call it.
An annual meet.
No. They go every month or so to the garden.
Okay.
Tell me the word. You know the word. Oh my God! I'll have to cut this bit out.
That's okay. We can edit it. No problem at all.
Sorry, the
allotment. They go
the allotment.
to the allotment. You see. It's an outing.
Okay.
Now, the point is that if you've got an outing to go to, if you've got a place to go to, people don't think they're going to trade. They're all just working on the project. So, and the other thing you can do, if somebody's garden needs tidying up, or the house needs tidying up or decorating, the organisers can say, well, not much is going on, let's organise an outing or a happening or something like that. So you have to be a bit resourceful, to keep the group going. That's why I said there's more to it than meets the eye, because you've got to have all these different skills involved in running it. But the idea is that by counting, you're actually creating a currency that you're issuing to each other. You don't have to get it from the bank or even from the admin. You can all create your own credit, and the currency just sort of bounces around between you.
Well, it is. It's really a representative of what we already do, except the bits of paper that we use, they represent our trading skills, and because we have to loan those into existence and pay the interest on them, our energy gets stolen by that very method. So to remove the currency, as it were, because currency is energy and energy is currency, because it is all that, you're absolutely right there, and it is the misnomer that we need bits of paper to trade with each other, because we don't. And if we did need bits of paper, why can't we print our own?
Mm.
That's right, and that's what technically it's called mutual credit, where it's like a cooperative thing. You all do it for each other, and that way, instead of abolishing banks, you just do something else.
Well,
if it was successful and grew, then you'd be competing with them.
You see, I'm all excited about this, but I'm loving to speak to you, because a few months ago I came up with the exact same approach that you have now, is that we can do this ourselves, but we have to try and get the message across that we don't need banks apart from paying the electric bill or the gas bill or whatever. We don't really need them for anything else. We can actually get along quite fine without them 99% of the time.
Yeah.
But just building up a parallel economy. And yes. I think they did this when the system collapsed in Russia. People just fell back on their own on their own barter networks, you see, in exactly the same way. They called in favors and they did things for, and this was going on all the time apparently when the communism was forcing people into these collectives where they didn't have much choice, but they still kept these other things on the go, personally, although it was unofficial, and then that's what they fell back on.
Right, yeah. So, what sort of things then, if you can expand on that in London where you are, what sort of things do people get involved in? You said a bit of decorating, people growing food. What does it mainly centre around, and what the people mainly trading in?
I think people give each other computer help. They do advice, quite a bit of therapy, gardening, and some goods are traded. Like, sometimes people they're not that well off, and they don't want to just give everything to the charity shop. So sometimes, they'll sell on clothes and things like that. I bought shoes. Somebody had a perfectly good pair of shoes. It was a mistake. They didn't fit them, and I bought it. I was glad to have these shoes. So things like that. You didn't have to give it away. You could get some credit for it. You see.
Yeah.
And mostly all this will happen at socials, and we've developed the website so people can do their currency online, just like online banking, and they can have all their listings online. But really and truly, it's only when people meet up that it happens, because people are busy, they don't get around to it normally.
Okay. Now, I'm actually sort of really curious about the actual detail, actually getting into the detail of, how is the mechanics of it working? Because if I was setting one up in my own little world, I would think, should we start with a paper currency that is interest-free, or do we start from zero and do it with just the time trade? Which one is the most popular?
Well, what I've come up with is this idea of the integrated currency, because what happened was that some people have kind of hijacked this time thing and said we'll have time banks and everybody's equal, but it's sort of limited. But with a L.E.T.S group, you can say, well, when we want to be equal, we'll have so much an hour, but if my trade is a very valuable one, and I want to charge you more, it's okay, we can negotiate over and above that. So you can have your standard rate, which sets the actual rate of the currency. And quite typically, the ones the ones that I'm in, we just say 10 per hour, because that's like what you get for care work. If you're freelance, you get less if you're with an agency, because they take a cut above you. But anyway, say 8 or 10 an hour. It's living wage, not minimum wage. Okay. But if somebody was saying, oh well, I'm going to do, I suppose, a trade, they'd probably charge you more, and that's okay as long as it's agreed. And it's a good idea if the organisers have somebody who will process checks, because a lot of people in L.E.T.S groups, they were doing this before computers, and they won't do it online, so they would much rather write out a check. But then it gets very cumbersome. So it's great fun to have these cash vouchers. And there was an event that I was helping at where we wanted to kind of flow some currency towards the kind of the stall holders, especially the ones with the food, because it's really, to make their business flow. So we gave all the helpers, we gave them 10 links an hour after the first hour, and then they went and got all this food, and then it was just an event currency. When the traders gave us the vouchers back at the end of the day, we gave them the cash. So it actually supported their stall. That was just an event currency. But if you could do that at a regular event, like on a market, weekly market, and you could do it with produce, you see. So this is where the idea where you can have printed currency, and you can have checks, and you can have trading online, and you can have the standard rate, and you can negotiate. So you can have all these possibilities. You integrate it. Instead of limiting yourself and saying, oh, we must only do it one way, and that's the rule. You say, well, so you vary it according to the situation. Because if you have a little market event, and you're going to, supposing somebody's selling small things, or maybe instead of the food being free, maybe they charge for the food. Well, you wouldn't write out a check for it, would you?
Hi, Mary. Sorry.
The cash voucher is quite useful.
Sorry, could I just jump in there? Basically what you're saying was how paper currency originated. Really, it just spread beyond the boundaries of the market.
Yeah, that's right. So if you could, you see, some of these projects you hear about, these transition towns where they've really gone big on the printed currency, and they've gone straight into the market, you know, like the Brixton pound and the Totnes pound and all that, and what was the other one, Lewis? And it didn't really sort of do very much because they were just trying to go big too suddenly. But you can grow this from your own members. So supposing you're at a public market and somebody comes along and says, what are these vouchers? What are these vouchers? And you can say, well, you've got to buy our food with these vouchers, but we'll sell you some for pounds. So you can use that to fundraise for your printing and everything. And then anybody in the public who didn't have an account, they could use them if they wanted to. They don't have to become a signed-up member. But then if they got more interested, like on the back of the voucher, you'd say, this is where we meet, you know, first Monday of the month, this is where we meet. And then they might get drawn in. So you can use the vouchers as a PR.
Yeah, now that's the way I've been seeing this as well, because I was thinking of this. In my own head, I've been listening to you and I thought, why would you not, right? Why would you not do a one-for-one voucher, okay?
That's right, yeah.
And on the back of the voucher, it would say, this voucher can be exchanged for services available at this website, for example.
Exactly.
And traders, especially traders or maybe older ladies and gentlemen who perhaps just need little jobs doing around the house, that they might be interested in that sort of help, if you see what I mean.
Another reason why the vouchers are good is sometimes there are certain things, because in the L.E.T.S scheme, like the system we've got, local exchange for software, and it lists all the transactions on the site, and it might say somebody babysat with somebody else or somebody had therapy with somebody else, and they might not want to publicise all that.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
if you go to an event and you say, well, I'll take out 50 out of my account, and that's a transaction done by the L.E.T.S accountant or the treasurer, it's just like drawing cash out of the bank, then you've got the vouchers in your hand and you can go and spend them how you want. You can, you know, give them to this therapist or that babysitter or so, and then they can pay them in. And that's how they did it in Argentina when they didn't have an internet virtual currency. They had a voucher currency when their economy collapsed. And that went on for at least a couple of years until they got on their feet again. It was all cash. They just issued 40 pesetas worth, and they had these weekly markets, and people bought produce. They even bought old boots or anything, just as, you know, what could you sell to get food? It was literally that bad because 50% of the population was out of work. It was that serious. And this rather crude system, just this cash, got them through the crisis.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Mary, because that's one thing that a lot of people have, I believe, myself, younger people, they either think that everything's worth an extortionate amount of money that they're willing to sell it to anybody for an extortionate amount, or they think it's worth nothing and they're willing to give it away. But just to go back to one of your earlier points, I'm glad you explained the idea of being able to barter with people, because a lot of the schemes that I have read about earlier on, when people started to realise that the banks are basically trying to rob you a little bit, when a lot of people with these alternative currencies were trying to get people around to the idea that an hour of your time is worth exactly the same as an hour of somebody else's time, but not really taking into account that maybe a surgeon who's studied for God knows how many years to be a master of his trade would not be quite as is not the same as somebody who has only studied for a year.
I think
maybe.
Yeah, I think that's. You're right.
So
absolutely right,
bartering is.
you come up with a fee for your service.
Yeah.
So this is something that divides the community quite strongly. Some of them are very strong on we are all equal, and some of them very strong on I need the rate for the job that I'm doing. So what I came up with is this idea of the standard rate to use when you want to trade on an equal basis. Then you can negotiate, are we doing over, or it could be less. I mean, if you're doing babysitting, you say, I'm only watching the telly, I'll do, I'm not going to charge the standard rate because you're going to give me supper, I'm going to watch the television, and I'll do it for less. So you can negotiate around that. But if you have the agreed standard rate, here's the point. That sets the rate for your currency. And then if you want to move that currency from one scheme to another, then you do the arithmetic. For example, I know it's bonkers, but in Bristol, their standard rate for the Oliver is 25 an hour. I don't know where they got that from, whether it was a therapist's hour or what, but it's always been 25 an hour. So, and then I, listened to all the rates in different parts of the country. And in Derbyshire, they said it's 4 per hour. Well, you couldn't trade those, you couldn't move one into the other directly. So what you've got to do is to say, okay, I've done some work, and I've got in Bristol, I've got 100 in my account, and I'm going to move to Derbyshire. Can I take it with me? So you go through the hub, and when you've got 100 Olivers and you put that into the hub, it turns into 4 hours, and then you move the hours up to Derbyshire, and then they can turn into 16 Woodevers.
Isn't it a brilliant way? Isn't it a brilliant way to teach people how currencies work today?
Yeah. So that is the sort of that actually it sort of it makes it transferable. The fact that you've got this time-based hub. So that's a very, very useful concept. And it doesn't matter how they earned those 100 Olivers, if they negotiated around that. But that was the value of that currency compared with the other one. So that was your base rate. You're working around that standard in that scheme.
It sounds complicated until you actually spend a little time thinking about this, and you think, actually, this isn't too difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be easier for me to understand just 1 for 1. The price is the price. It's just we'll exchange 1 for 1.
Well, people have different mindsets, because if you're coming from the point of view of, I'm a tradesman, this is my work. Like when I was building somebody a website, I got into doing websites, and they wanted to give me 5 an hour. I felt a bit outraged, actually. Because, you know what I mean? And you would if you were a plumber, you'd probably want more than 5 an hour, wouldn't you? But if you got a bunch of women and they're talking about babysitting or just, picking up the kids from school or doing a bit of cooking, they're embarrassed to talk about a rate. They just want to say, oh, well, we're all equal, aren't we, girls? Let's just go by the standard rate. So that gets them off the embarrassment of talking about it as currency. They're just thinking about their time being equal to each other. So you need to have a sort of a standard rate for them, and then the other ones can then negotiate, as long as it's clear. As long as you sort of have that conversation, so you know what the deal is when you're doing the work.
Okay, can I ask then, do you think in the future, because I personally, my view is that the currency we have now, the monetary system we have now, which is, it's built on fresh air and faith and the confidence of the people who use it. I mean, these ever-increasing debts that are being paid for by further debt, it is going to stop at some point in the future, but I'm not going to be brave enough to try and say when. So I think we would do well to actually learn and consider these schemes, because historically they have been the very things that we've survived with when the time came.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking.
There isn't much volume of activity at the moment, because actually we're too well off. It's much easier if you've got the money to just call a cab company than to chat up somebody and say, will you give me a lift in your car and arrange it for 2 days hence? So as long as we've got enough, we're not that bothered about really, really using these schemes for necessities. But what we want is to make sure that they're there, that they're available, so that when they're needed, that they'll be there. And that's why I'm systematically now, I'm going around in every area and making sure that there is, my next project is to go into every county, and sometimes there's gaps, or there isn't one at all, or there are 2 at the other end of the counties, and you've got lots of lost folk in between. And I'm getting the messages of all the people who wanted to join L.E.T.S, and there isn't one. And the more messages I get, then I know they didn't get through to live schemes. So what you want to do is go into there and just find some people to to take responsibility, and you can set up the web system and say, look, and train them. So it's a big, big project. We really need to have funding for it, but we need to sort of train the trainers so that we can get it all covered. And then, we need the structure in place, because it's a little bit... First of all, it was like each village saying, we'll just have our own L.E.T.S. But then there isn't time to set them up in each village if they need technical support. So you need to kind of work down a bit, take it from a higher level, like each county, and then they can split off inside that once they know what they're doing. So that's my sort of plan of attack.
Your goal.
Now, to just try and cover it. And in case things get worse, so that it will be there. But somehow, you see, the government did prop up the banks.
They did.
They did prop up the banks.
With our money.
Even though, it's just totally bonkers. And first of all, they kept themselves going by these
quantitative easing
devices.
Yeah.
These devices like derivatives and all that nobody understood. Mm-hmm. And then when the bottom fell out because the stock market didn't support it, it all just internationally just went bonkers. Then the government said, okay, we've got to prop them up, so we'll give all this money to the banks. And then quantitative easing, which is a way of just creating currency just to kind of prop them up. And it is outrageous, the fact that they're still able to take these massive, massive salaries home. I mean, goodness knows. But, somehow, Gordon Brown, at least he prevented a collapse. It could have been worse, like Argentina. At least the money is theoretically in our accounts. So in Argentina, people went to the bank and it just wasn't there. Their account was gone.
And that day Mary, that day may come here. I think.
I hope not.
I think we must not think that we're immune to. We must not think we're immune to the banksters, because the people who print the money run the world. They always have and they always will. The rest is the management teams, and we can choose the management teams, but the people who print the money run the world, and they run it for their benefit, not ours. We are here for their benefit, not ours. But
when I'm talking when I talk to these monetary reformers and they say we've got to get rid of capitalism, I say to them, look, if we want to see something happening in our lifetime, we have got to do something now. We can't wait for that. We have to do what we can now. That's why I'm doing this rather than I keep in touch with them, but I can't spend time, campaigning. No, because there's work to be done.
There's work to be done.
We've got.
Yeah.
I'm with you all the way, Mary. It's a pleasure to speak to you, because you're bringing back all the things that I was thinking about a little while ago. I truly believe that without an honest money system, and we don't have one, but without an honest money system, we can never wrestle control of any part of our lives really back, because they control the very food that we need, and that is the money, so we can feed ourselves. And because we've been programmed to think this way, it's very difficult to get people who are able to pay their bills to consider an alternative, because they don't see the alternative as the same as money, yet they'll still work an hour in whichever system.
Yeah.
But I realise your cause, and I support your cause greatly, and I'm delighted to help him in our own little way. But I really hope that in the future, once people realise that money is just an act of faith and a trade, we can use everything that we've got to create our own assets and our own banks. I mean, people who own their own houses, those very houses are what banks use to create loans now. So why can't... I mean,
there are more ethical ways of running banking, and I can't go into detail. I don't have the knowledge, but there are some banks who don't cheat in the way that in the way that most banks do.
Yeah, I think they're all under the same umbrella myself, but because they all have to kowtow to the Bank of England, and but that's digressing on what you're doing. What you're doing is offering an alternative to that, and from what you've said, you're helping people that are probably not as well off as these banksters, like you say, that seem to walk away with millions of pounds after they've absolutely nearly bankrupted the bank. We can't do those kind of things. We have to be responsible for our own actions. And if we can help people. I'm a plumber by trade, so I was interested in when you were saying about the tradespeople coming in and helping people.
If we can get more tradesmen in, and also the other thing that we need to get is on the system is food, and the permaculture people are on a mission to teach people how to grow food, and this is the absolute basics. The prices of food will probably go up. And then it'll be a big issue, getting, if you can, get hold of food for currency. And that's a whole nother story because, if things get really serious, then, people, they're already, I saw on the radio, on the telly the other day, food banks just literally taking food to people's people come and collect food. I was horrified. So some individuals are really already falling through the net. And the trouble is that we're not sort of geared up to make L.E.T.S available to them yet. There's so much work to do.
Yeah.
And ordinary people, they don't get it because they're so stuck on the anxiety about real money. And they look at what the L.E.T.S community are doing, and it all seems a bit theoretical and middle class. So we need to actually get down to practicality. That's why I think doing these things, using cash vouchers, is really, really important because it looks a lot more concrete.
Absolutely
you don't
right.
want to tell people they've got to go to a website the whole time. But the other innovation that we're bringing in, there's another lot of software that I'm looking at, which will enable people to do text messaging. That's what they do,
Marvellous.
Yes, because everyone's got a text phone, you see, so you can send the currency to each other on the text message. So it's like, it doesn't matter what modality, whether it's online or checks or vouchers or text messages, it's all the same currency.
How difficult do you find it to get people to appreciate that it is time and money, and you can create your own without using the one that everybody thinks we have to use? How difficult do you find that? If you get people in small groups, do you do small talks to groups and try and sort of engage them in time is money, let's make our own?
I think at the moment we're not reaching as many people as we should be. It is people who find out they've heard something, they find out about it, they look online, they get through. So they've already heard about it before they come and just join in. But we need more substantial outreach.
Yeah, I understand all that. I mean, that's why I contacted you, because I realised that you do have a grasp of what's required. And if we want to actually maintain any privacy, this is another very important way that we can do that. Because once we go all digital, and there's no doubt about it, we are going to get there in the future. And that is where paper money as we know it will be eliminated. 97% already done. Just 3% of the money that we call money is paper. It's if we want to keep some privacy and trade with each other as we have the perfect right to do, then this is the actual only method we can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, that's very important for some people. I mean, older people, we're not used to being spied upon and tracked and traced and fined and charged. And we're not, are we? I mean, you want to get in there, Stuart. What did you want to say?
Well, I was just about to say, I like the route that you've taken. You've not tried to refer to your vouchers, or you use the term credit, which is a good term to use for money, but you haven't used the term alternative money, because the problem is there, as a lot of people have found out in America, is when you create your own money, you're up against the banks, because that's that's the term money is reserved.
I realise that. But we're only creating our own method of trading.
It's
the profit side of things that it's commerce. If you're engaged in commerce, that becomes taxable. Whereas if you're engaged in just trade between each other, I don't think that's as yet taxable. Is that right, Mary?
Well, the thing is that if you're running a small business and people who are going to engage in L.E.T.S, they're probably not turning around much anyway. And so you know, if you're turning around enough to be able to pay tax, then you're doing well.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the other side of it is when you think about the way you do your accounts when you're a business, anything that you spend out that's a business expense, you just do a subtraction, and what you've actually earned is the difference. It's the profit.
Mm-hmm.
So within L.E.T.S, it's better to avoid any problems. It's better to have, if you've got a personal account, keep that separate from your business account. So, for example, supposing you were a cafe and you said, well, we're going to start accepting this L.E.T.S currency. You could do the text or the cash or whichever way, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. As a proportion of our trade, it'll just be mixed in amongst everything else. But we're also going to do some of our employment, giving those vouchers out to our staff.
Right. So
the income and the expenditure balance out, no profit. Okay?
Well
so
done.
You didn't show a profit on that part of your trading.
Right, okay, I do have a question now, because I actually have a fish and chip shop in North Yorkshire, and I would be prepared to join a scheme that was running on this basis.
Really?
Well, yes, I would, yeah, that's why I've contacted you, yeah. And the reason that I'm so curious to ask questions now is that in a L.E.T.S scheme, is a L.E.T.S scheme statutorily regulated to keep account of all transactions by all members, or can members trade between themselves without any record?
It could be run by cash. We do keep the if anything that goes through the treasurer or the system, that will be recorded, but that is not given out to the Inland Revenue.
Right. Okay.
But it's like in cash, you don't have the details. So if vouchers were introduced into it, and a certain amount of trading was going on via vouchers, mm-hmm. then there's no record of it, in the same way as you don't have a detailed record of cash.
Okay. Okay, you are actually mirroring a system that is being promoted within the groups that I mix. But
really?
Well, yeah, but you're doing it in a much more positive way. You're actually starting from the grassroots, as it were, whereas another system is trying to become all encompassing in a different way. But we won't go down that road. But I am delighted, and I'm going to keep in touch. I hope we can speak again, because I do want to speak to you, if I may, not live on the radio as we are now, about what I can actually do and who I can contact, because I would like to take this a step forward. But there was something you said to me earlier today, and you said that you are actually in touch with the Occupy movement in London.
Yeah.
And we don't hear much about them at all now.
Oh, right.
By any means at all. It's almost like they're not there, but that's not true, is it?
No, it's not true at all. No, they're alive and well, and they're running a series of lectures, and we're just in the middle of it, called the New Putney Debates. And if you go into, I think if you go into the events page on the Let's Think UK website, I've given a link to that series. But I'll get their own website, the Occupy. But there's some very intelligent and erudite guys, amongst them. And what a little project that I'm doing for them, and to link up them and the Global Table people. I'm just setting up the website for it, because I was feeling, I just wanted to fill the time with doing something useful until we spoke. And I've got this system, this new website, which I'm just beginning to set up, called The Map. And it's the map of economic reform. And the point is that you've got all these activists who've got different ideas. One says, what we've got to do is to abolish interest. Another one says, the real problem is the price of land. And then another one says, well, the real problem is tax havens. And then, and so on and so forth.
I would love to join that little group. I really would love to join and be part of it, because without honest money, we haven't got anything. We need interest-free trading. That's what we need. It's the interest that takes the value out of the money slowly but surely. It steals it from us. And if we could get interest-free money, we can actually decide what the prices of things are in the future ourselves. But until the money in circulation and the interest attached to it is controlled by us, we cannot control anything else. We cannot. But Mary, it has been a pleasure. I have to say thank you for your company this evening. I hope that I can catch you and speak to you in the future personally about how I can help, because I am very, very interested and hope I've got something to contribute.
Yeah, that would be brilliant. Yeah.
Well, from myself...
So I've got your email address, and I'll give you a link to the bit on the website where you can put some more details.
Well, lovely, and I'd like
what I want to do is, you see, in order to get people interested, I've got to have the systems up, and then I've got to... I'm going to have to do a little tour, you know, and get people together. It's only when people get together that there's a chemistry. I know that. So I've been glued to the screen, and now, you won't believe this, I've only just bought a laptop.
Why did you say it so quietly?
I'm embarrassed.
Well, don't be embarrassed. I never had a computer myself till about 2 or 3 years ago, and now now I make all sorts of mistakes, but I don't worry about that. Mary, thank you for your company from myself, Stuart and Andy.
Thank you very much, Mary.
Hi, thank you.
All right, I will publicise the site on our site, and I will put it on the Facebook page, and you will be live. The recording will be live up on YouTube tomorrow. Mary, thank you for your company.
Okay. Yeah. Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Well, lovely. What a lovely lady.
Yeah.
And do you know what? That is the Roger Hayes scheme, isn't it?
It's
the same thing.
Hey, that's what we're going
it's
through
the
my
same
head.
thing, yeah. What a lovely lady. We'll chat in just a second. Let's have a beer.
350 million Wayseers ready to go once we reach them. 700 million worldwide once we get everyone out of poverty. If you take just the 350 million, and if each one of them could devote 1 hour a day to working on the world's problems, to tapping that amazing divine inspiration that they have access to, that brilliant genius that every Wayseer has through their consciousness. 350 million hours a day of innovation we have the ability to employ. Do you know how much time it took to build the Empire State Building? 7 million man-hours. We've got 350 million available to us every day. That means right now, if we wake up all the Wayseers over the next couple months, right now, and we all start devoting an hour out of our hearts and souls to contribute to humanity, and we start coordinating with each other and devoting just an hour a day, we have the capability to deliver the equivalent of 50 Empire State Buildings every day to humanity. 50 Empire State Buildings worth of innovation and change and progress every day. And we need it. There's enough problems to go around, but there's also enough Wayseers once we wake up. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're here for. That's what this movement is all about.
Critical Mass Radio is a completely non-profit station where the hosts pay to broadcast their shows. The mission of the station is to get as much information as possible out to people about the world we live in, to unite like-minded people, and to try to come up with workable solutions. If you agree with the work that we are doing, then please feel free to help us continue by making a donation on the webpage. CMR is for people who want answers, because now it is our turn.
So, welcome back, everybody, then. Here we are. Hi, guys. Hi, guys.
Hiya.
You all juiced up? Right, okay, we've got a little bit of time left, haven't we?
We have.
Now, can we get some callers in, do you think? Do you think someone's going to give us a ring? Do you think that
It'd be nice if
it would be nice to get a couple of calls,
yeah.
I think. So, calls are welcome then. You actually are our brand new website. The Listen Live will get you through to the on-air page, which gets you through to the Blog Talk Radio page, which is where you are hearing me from now. So, just press the Skype button and ring on in.
That lady, Mary... she's a doer. There are sayers out there.
You could hear it, couldn't you?
Doers.
You could hear that passion, couldn't you?
You could, yeah.
It was there to be heard.
She's so involved with it. It just flows from her, and The energy she's got, it's amazing.
It is lovely, isn't it?
I wish I had a tenth of her energy, and
I wish we had the time as well.
I'd be a doer as well.
I mean, I'd love to be involved in all this stuff, but this work lab gets in the bloody way, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It's designed to take up our time.
But it is nice to find somebody who is not what can I say? Not involved in the truth movement as such.
No.
She's recognised, without knowing perhaps the conspiracy behind all this.
Exactly.
She's recognised, without knowing the conspiracy, that something needs to be done. And over time, it would be great to get involved and see what we can do. Because it isn't one system fits all. It's one system will fit doors, and one system will fit doors, and their systems will evolve, and eventually, hopefully, they'll realise that we need to trade. So there'll just be an exchange rate, as Mary actually, explained. And that is how currency works today. Different exchange rates for different currencies.
Yeah, just the same.
And if we've got 300 currencies in this country, we've got 300. I'd rather have 300 than 3. The reason being that they can shut 3 down quite easily.
Easily, yeah.
So let's give them bloody 300.
Give them 300, yeah.
Numbers.
Yeah, truth and numbers, that's all we've ever had. We don't have anything else. We don't really have any money that they've given us. All we have is our own time. We are the money. We've always been the money. We always have.
It's energy. Somebody typed in the chat box, energy. I couldn't see who it was.
Yeah, energy, currency, energy. Yeah, it's all the same darn thing, isn't it?
They want our energy off.
So here we are, the dark nights of November.
Yes.
The dark nights of November. It's I don't know where this year's gone. I don't know at all. And do you know, our shows, we fall on Christmas Day and New Year's Day. We do fall on Christmas Day and New Year's. No, I'm not doing Christmas Day. I'm not doing it. I'm not. But shall we do New Year's night?
I think we should.
Shall we do New Year's night?
Yeah.
Shall we, January the 1st?
Yeah.
I think we should do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Fun, won't it?
Is that meant to be a coherent show?
Oh, no. A recovery show, I think.
I think that might be a jolly show.
A recovering show, I
Our
believe.
New Year used to be... We're on the Gregorian calendar now, which is the Roman calendar.
Yep.
But before that, it used to be March the 21st.
Yes, it did.
Which used to be the New Year.
That's right, because that's the calendar that we are actually quietly following, isn't it, really? We are really
following that
one,
one. Yeah.
We are, because the months are numbered that way.
The Gregorian one's a fake one. It's an illusion.
I know.
Well, if you
it
just
really is.
We're following the Jewish calendar, really, aren't we?
Yeah.
That's what we're following.
Tax year. When's the tax year start?
Well, March, April the 5th, whatever it is, yeah.
Spring. That kind of calendar, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, it is. It is. We aren't following the calendar we think we're following, that's for sure, anyway. So, what else have we got to talk about? Because we certainly have plenty of stuff to talk about, don't we?
I don't... Now, we were into the...
Well, I actually want to go with, because... The paedophile thing,
exactly,
and the hospital thing,
the
because we have got the paedophile thing and the hospital thing, and I'm a little bit concerned because I don't think people really understand what hospitals are up to, and the connection with the paedophiles. I don't really think so. Now, just talk for a second while I get myself sorted, because there is something that I actually want to find. To play, to try and get everybody in the mindset of what I'm going to actually try and make a real mess of showing you, like I normally do. But I'm going to have a go anyway. You just keep talking, guys.
Right. I just wanted to expand on the Tom Watson thing, and the reason he's been allowed to actually stand up and say that in the Houses of Parliament, which I was just... I think... I was absolutely gobsmacked. I couldn't believe what he was saying. And to go back to that question I asked before, why now? We know it's been going on for years. And Robert Greene, our very good friend and colleague there, who's been putting a lot of effort in trying to expose this, and gone to jail for it.
Yeah, I remember.
And
now,
why are the exposers going to jail and not the abusers going to jail?
Because we live in the devil system. This is Satan's system, and everything is upside down. Now, so we played Aldous Huxley. Okay, we all know who he is. And now let's get into the hospitals, let's get into the paedophilia, and let's get into what the bloody hell is going on. So what headline are you holding, Stu?
I'm holding from The Sun on the 2nd of November, cashing in on death. Hospitals get 2 million for hastening the end.
12 million for hastening death.
That's my denial there. I didn't want to read 12, but I did.
Yeah, keep going. Give us a little bit more, because this is now... I mean, how can you print such a headline and there is absolutely no reaction from the public.
No.
I mean, I cannot believe it. But Aldous Huxley has told us why there's no reaction from the public.
Yeah.
That's why I played the clip. Because they figured out, this is 1962 he was talking about.
No, and he wrote the book in the 30s.
32.
Yeah.
30 years earlier, they'd already figured out they could do this. What else you got in there, Stu? Because that actually clearly says the end-of-life care path, doesn't it?
Well, I'll read you a little bit of it. It says, fury erupted over the NHS's pathway to death. Care regimen... I'm trying to read it, but it's terrible. Fury erupted over the NHS and it's a quote, a pathway to death. Care regimen yesterday after it emerged. Hospitals are paid millions to put patients on the scheme.
We've talked about this before, haven't we? We actually know how to do this, and there are varying numbers that we can find, but the fact the story exists means that there must be something behind it. And somewhere between 3,000 and 7,000 doctors are now able to put you on the end-of-life care path. Now that sounds interesting, but it means that they've decided that you have a year or less to live.
Yep.
And I actually know, is it 2 years? Is it 2 years? I thought it was just 1 year. They reckon you'll be dead inside a year, is what I've read.
No, I'm just pulling out figures that they're listing.
Right, okay.
I must also apologise. It's very difficult to read newspapers when it's four words a line.
It's the Sun. You can do it.
Four words
anyway,
a line.
I actually was talking to a lady who works within this system. She works within the care system, and she does actually administer the services for the end of life care patients. And we talked about it 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 3 years now. And the first thing that, once you've been put on the list, the first thing that happens is that you are assessed financially, so they can see what level of care you can afford. And if you haven't got any money, right, you're on painkillers, antidepressants, a walking stick, and a second-hand wheelchair if you need it. And that's your lot virtually nowadays. We're not quite there yet, but that's where it's going to actually end up. You know, socialism is a fine thing until we all run out of money. It actually works really well. This all one, let's all be equal and share works great. And hypothetically, it could work. It's called communism, and that's what's sold on the higher levels. All right? That's how they sell it back to us. Now, nature doesn't work on communism at all, does she?
No.
Nature says, if you want to go and do something, go hunting and get it. That's what she says.
What she does.
Now, we were started on a path to self-destruction. Huxley says openly in the 30s that we're ready. Whether it started in the 30s or not, I'm not sure, but we can be pretty confident it started in the 40s, and we'll call it the welfare system. And I'm going to use the analogy of a wolf, and that's the one I'm going to use. And what they did to us was the final act of domestication, the final way of breaking our will, our spirit, is how you would domesticate a wolf. And a wolf is a fine hunter and a lone ranger in many ways. He'll work together in packs, but he's a hunter. And if you just left food outside your back door for that hunter, he'd soon smell it, and he would steal it. And he would see it as part of the hunting regime, and he would be no problem at all. He'll just steal your food the minute you're not looking. But that wolf is going to have a cub, a pup, whatever. And if you increase the amount of food that's put out for the first wolf, he will take the pup, and that pup will also benefit from some food being there. You realise where I'm going with this. The original wolf will teach his pup to hunt, but what he really is teaching this pup is that go check the free food source first. And if there's none there, you're going to have to go catch it for yourself. But if the free food source is there, well done you, because you've got one over on these people who are leaving their food out. So aren't we clever? Well, let's go to second generation, now to third generation. And as long as the amount of food that's been left out is sufficient, the first generation wolf will teach his cub to hunt. The second generation wolf won't need to teach the third generation wolf to hunt. And that's how they've got us. That is it. That's what they've done. And if we don't face up to the facts that that's how we've been domesticated, if you do not have, in this reality, whether you like it or not, if we don't have something to offer this reality, it will eventually end up giving us nothing back. You know, all the opportunities we've had to live and learn and read and listen, I left it far too late.
I left it far too late.
I'm honest, I left it far too late. But I'm doing my best to catch up now. And we can't go back. We're not allowed to go backwards. Going backwards, you crash.
Yeah.
The system demands that you go forwards and change. Everything we do is change. From drinking a glass of water to breathing it back out again.
Yeah.
To taking a £20 note out of your pocket, and what you get back, you get change. Everything you do, all the food you eat, all the people you connect with, everything you touch, you change it by simply interacting with it. We have to get used to that. Forwards is the only way we've got.
Yeah.
Anything else is death.
It is.
It is. So let's get back. I don't know what took me down that path. Actually, how did I get there? Anyway, I did get there. So that's that. Now, Huxley knew in the 30s and openly confirmed it in 1962 that they were going to create a future for us that we shouldn't really like.
Yeah.
But they'd figured out that they could get us to love our servitude and anaesthetise everything, so we weren't hurt. And look what's happening. We now have open. It's dehydration that they actually kill us by, isn't it?
It is.
They actually just deny us water. That's what they did to my mum. I didn't know that's what they were doing. Now I do know that's what they're doing, and now I can confirm that they just actually don't give you any water.
No.
You just don't get any water. That's it.
They'll put you on a drip, the saline drip, but that's salt water.
Well, it didn't work.
I know, your body rejects it,
And
your
then
body shuts down.
I actually watched my mum shrinking in size. She was shrinking in size because she didn't have any water.
Yeah. That's what prunes do, isn't it?
Yeah.
You dry a prune, it goes all...
Yeah. But I didn't know that's what they were doing.
Goes all wrinkly and
I don't think the doctors and nurses to some extent know what they're doing. But I'll tell you one thing. There was a doctor on my mum's last day on this wonderful blue planet. There was a doctor, and I'd never seen her before, and she would have been, I had to say, 25, 26, 27. And she would have been 25, 26, 27. And she had that look in her eyes that was cold, calculating, and I didn't like it. And she said, I think we're going to lose your mum today. And I didn't know any better then, so I said, oh, okay. And my mum was on the main ward. In the main ward, it was just with the curtain round. And I said, well, surely don't we get some privacy? Don't we have a side ward or something? And this doctor looked at me and she said, no. She said, that's not available today. Well, I wasn't happy with that at all. I wasn't happy at all. I just assumed that's what you got. So she said, if we'll have a meeting out of earshot of all the rest of the staff. So she took us into this room, right? There was myself, my sister, her husband, and my other sister, and my stepfather, right? And we went into what we thought was going to be an office. Do you know where she held this meeting? In the cleaning store. In the bloody cleaning store. I could not believe it. We were negotiating which side room we couldn't have in the cleaning store. How have I got here? Right.
I know you.
£12 million given to hospitals to actually clear the beds. Because what they're doing is it's to clear beds, isn't it? Actually, that's actually what they've been given for.
That's what they get the money for.
Empty bed spaces.
Yeah, freeing up the
chucking
beds.
them out any time of day or night. It doesn't matter now. They didn't chuck them out in the middle of the night. And they basically just financially assess you, put you back in your house, and if you're probably never seen again in some circumstances, because if you're housebound, you just have these little angels that come in, and I call them little angels because I see lots of them coming in my shop, and they get a smaller fish and chips for the client they're off to see now.
Right,
and they are lovely little angels. They are. I mean, I know we see some horror stories in the press. The press always gives us horror stories. That's his job.
Yeah.
They don't, there's no news. There's no nice news in the newspapers. Have a look around in every newspaper. Try and find me a nice story, and I'll find you 999 that aren't. It's a horror magazine, not a newspaper nowadays. And that's designed. Look at the movies they're making. I actually watched Looper over the weekend, and it's a movie it's like every other movie that has ever been made. It's just a sophisticated remake of an old story. But it's all bloody horrible stuff. I mean, it's Damien covered. It's a Damien movie, really. But it's horrible. There's nothing nice at all. Everything nice out of the world has been crushed and smashed and taken away.
Yeah, and then on the other end of the scale, that don't get any airtime at all until tonight, and a few others, is Mary.
Yeah.
There she is.
Lovely people.
Lovely people. doing what they can, seeing what's going on, and trying to do their bit to help.
I know the world is full of nice people
It is full
who
of
haven't
nice
got
people.
a clue what's going on. They haven't got a clue, and they need to know.
They do.
And isn't that the most frustrating problem that we have?
Yeah.
Somehow we're going to have to get to learn to teach, aren't we?
If we got rid of the psychopaths out of it,
You can't get rid of the psychopaths.
we'd get along just famously.
Oh, happy thinking. Look, because what you have to tell them is it's too far from what they believe can be true, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is the problem that we have. I mean, how can you say that it is a death management system and has been for quite some time? But we couldn't see it before, could we? We didn't see it. We didn't understand what was going on because we were asleep just like everybody else. But now we've woken up. And you know, it's... Sometimes I try and describe it a little bit like this. It's, is it a gift to be able to see? Well, of course it is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But what gift have we been given? We've been given... What's another word for a gift? A present. The gift we've been given is the present.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to see it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That is the gift we've been given.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have to work out how to present it to other people.
Present the present.
We've got to present the present.
Yeah.
And we've managed to unwrap it. Yeah? The music stopped with us. We've stopped dancing, haven't we? We're no longer performing the dance.
No.
Or complying the dance. We want to resist the dance.
I'm resisting,
not assist the dance. The music has stopped with us. We've unwrapped it. And now we have the present. And now, how on earth do you share it?
That's the difficult one, isn't it?
But isn't that the biggest challenge in the world?
That's the challenge you've taken on.
Isn't that what we wanted? Isn't that what we wanted, to actually feel that we were alive and there's a purpose that we're bloody here?
Yeah.
Isn't this the race? We've managed to beat the race because we've now opened the present. And the race is to open the present. So we've won that race. And now we've done another one.
And the system piles it on you so that it makes it more and more difficult for you to do these things, to actually believe what you're doing is the right thing. Because I've questioned myself many times, and there's so many things thrown at you to divert your attention this way and that way and the other way. Look at this, and ooh, what's happening here and what's happening there, and then you realise that's how it works.
Because it's not a fair ground, is it?
No, it's not.
It's full of lights and distraction.
It is, yeah.
And I think Aldous has a quote from Aldous Huxley somewhere else that I haven't got with me, but he does say, never underestimate a man's power to be distracted. Never underestimate it. And you see it, I see it everywhere. If you try and really, really focus your attention on somebody, they actually get nervous.
They do.
And I had to admit all the time when I tried, they think, oh, I'll tell him a joke. That's what people do. And these are older people than me, and they say, oh, you must be really... I'll tell you a joke. You think, no, that wasn't meant to be the reaction. So you think, that didn't bloody work. I'll have to try somewhere else. Back to this report you've got in your hand.
Back to the
Now we're going to have to say where we've got this from, because this report is making allegations that we cannot substantiate.
No, we can't.
But what I can do is I can post this report on the website after we've finished.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely damning, isn't it?
It is.
It is damning.
It's naming names.
I mean, we're talking about high-profile stuff.
High-profile people that are dead and gone.
But not all of them.
But no, there are.
I mean, which prime minister, which number 10 connection prime minister do we think is going to be connected? Is it going to be Heath?
They're saying it with Heath, but it's turning out it looks like it was Margaret Thatcher, and she were inviting Jimmy Savile round for Christmas dinner and things like this.
Oh, there we are. Then. Well, we can't say. We can say who knows.
Who knows? We'll never know the truth, will they? Because the people that are involved in it are so good at burying.
But you asked the best question earlier on. Why now?
Why now?
Why now? What was concealed until he died?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think? Do you think it was the old-fashioned spy technique of when I'm gone, you can post these?
Yeah.
Do you think it was?
I think it was. Yeah. He in his autobiography, he said, if anybody wants to come out and name names, I'll take you down. That's what he said. He said it. He's called himself King Jimmy.
Do you think that's what he's done? You think when he's gone post these?
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
think his will's been opened and it's
they've had a look and
something
thought,
like that.
Ooh, how can we? What this is now is damage limitation, isn't it?
It is.
They're using the stars as a smokescreen.
Uh-huh.
All we're talking about is Jimmy.
Yep.
Then they threw in Gary Glitter again. Then
Freddie Starr,
and just it's the periphery, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you never get to the inner core.
No one remembers that Simon Cowell put up £50,000 bail for Jonathan King.
No,
nobody remembers that.
No,
do they?
I don't. I can't even remember reading that or hearing it.
See, I can.
So that were news to me.
I can, but so much goes through your head.
I remember the Jonathan King thing.
Yeah.
A similar time to
What
Gary
else is in there?
Glitter.
There's some other interesting allegations in there, isn't there? About there's McAlpine's in there, isn't he? Maud's in there.
Leon Britton.
Yeah.
A few Gerald Kaufman.
Yep.
There's a few MPs on here.
We're saying this website is making claims.
It is making
claims and allegations and prepared to back them up. And the fact that it's online with links and what appears to be genuine links and news stories.
Yeah, to the Jersey thing.
Mean, this website would be taken down or sued. So they've been brave enough to print it.
They've been brave,
but I'm not going to be enough to repeat it.
No.
I'm going to tell you what's there, and you go look for yourself.
Go and have a look for yourself.
I'm not going to repeat it as the truth at all because this could be a setup, couldn't it?
Yeah.
We could be. We could say, if we try and say that's true.
Yeah.
We could be taking ourselves down, no problem at all.
We could easily. Yeah.
All I can say is this is what this website claims. It's still up. It's still live. Read it for yourself.
Read it.
Follow the links and decide if you think there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
I mean, how many talks have you listened to by? Over the years that I've given you about it is a satanic control method at the top.
Yeah,
it is interested in young children.
We've had
many people. Matt Passio.
That's who I was trying to think of.
That is what they enjoy at the top. Sacrificing young virgins, which is just young virgins, is just a cover story for children. That's all it is. And throughout history, they've had a penchant for this. It's almost like you can't sit at the top table unless this is what you're interested in.
No. We've had instances, haven't we? There was the little boy that they found his torso, the little coloured lad, and it was linked to Nigeria and things like this. And then there was the lady that was found, the body of a lady that was found in Balmoral in the grounds. We've never heard anything more about that, have we?
It's not just the first one that's been found there,
It beggars belief that we can sit here and talk about these things.
Well, it's almost surreal, isn't it?
It is surreal.
Because we're actually, surreal, which sounds like surreal.
Surreal, yeah.
It's like we shouldn't be talking about this because it shouldn't be happening.
No,
it couldn't be allowed to be happening unless those involved are the ones that control reality. And of course, they are the ones that control reality.
Yeah,
we don't control reality.
Oh no!
I know we think we do, but we don't. I know I don't understand how reality works, but I know I don't control it. I live in it, and 9 times out of 10 react to what happens. And reaction isn't just reaction is hard to describe. It's what you read, what you see, and what you think, and what you do. It's all supplied by the reality. And you act accordingly as to how you decode that.
How these things that you're thrown at you day after day.
And we watch everything. Well, to watch is to be a spectator.
And they're saying we watch. They've watched us for hundreds of years. What I found out was the reason a record is only 4 minutes long is because the instruments at the time that we had to record the information was only 4 minutes long. That's as long as they could get it.
That's as tight as the spring could be wound.
That's as tight as the spring. The coil at that time could be sprung. But what they've found since is our attention span is only 4 minutes long. They've linked the two together, and they talk about a goldfish only having 2 seconds. You work up the food chain. We're not that far up the food chain if we've only got 4 minutes.
I think I actually spoke to. It's funny actually how conversations link up, isn't it? I spoke to a salesman today. I speak to him every week, and he said that I've been to a concert over the weekend to see one of my favourite blues bands. He said, but there was something different about this concert. So I said, go on. And he knows how I talk. I mean, he doesn't get it, but he tries to get it. So he's really, because he's a salesman, so he's always nice and polite at the other end. He probably puts the phone down and thinks, bloody nutcase. But anyway, he does try and chat to me. There was something different about this conference concert, he said. I said, what was it? He said, nobody was listening to the music. I said, what? He said they weren't listening to the music, really. He said they were busy chatting among themselves and playing on the phones.
Oh, God,
that's what he said.
I was just going to say, were they all on their phones?
And I said, is this the first time you've noticed this? He said, yeah. He's in a band.
Oh.
He's actually in a band. And this blues band or whatever are popular locally to where he is. He said, there's lots of people there. He said, but they were on their bloody phones and chattering. And usually when a band finishes the song, at least you get a
ripple.
A polite ripple. Well,
yeah.
A round of applause in some shape or form.
Or a whoop.
The singer says, thanks very much, and here's your next one, that sort of thing. He said they were oblivious. He said, I don't know why they were there. I can't imagine why they even bothered going. And that was just this weekend.
Ah, there you go then.
So whether the signal's been turned up or not, I don't know. Now you've bought a bit of kit from last week, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
You can't speak up a little bit, but you
Gizmo, yes.
Yeah. Now, when I said Barry was talking about you should check your house for hotspots. Yeah. You've got the gadget, haven't you?
Well, I've got they're quite expensive actually.
Your microphone's not. Just give yourself a little bit of juice. Give yourself a little bit of juice there.
That's
better.
Hi, sorry. Yeah, no, I've actually went ahead and bought a gadget. It's a very base model, but it registers electromagnetic rays in the microwave spectrum, and it gives you an idea of what is letting out microwaves and what isn't. And I tested your router today. And,
yeah, you did.
And it's pinging off the chart, so you might want to look at that.
So your routers at home are giving off one of the strongest radiating signals.
Little clarification there, it's a BT one.
Yeah.
No affiliation to the company, but it's got a BT logo on there, so...
It was giving off microwaves.
It was giving off microwaves, yes.
And it was the strongest signal in my house.
So far, yeah.
So far, we haven't done the rest of the house yet, have we?
No. It's a fun-looking gadget. If anybody remembers the smart meter video from America with this funny-looking green triangle shape coming out the top of it, that's basically what this gadget is. It just it's a radio, it's an RF spectrum analyzer. And if everybody will give me a second, Paul, give me a second, I'll just get you the details of it. So if anybody wants to check that out.
All right, you're going to get us details, because it does look an interesting gadget. I mean, I'm going to do my house a little bit later and and see what I am up against, because you might as well know. I mean, they do clearly tell us that this is how they're going to do it, and they make no bones about it now. I mean, we give hospitals money to kill old people. We quite happily recruit doctors to say when they want you to die. And no one seems to be bothered.
It's called an electro-smog analyzer. Electro-smog.
Apparently that's what they call it, yeah?
Yeah.
We've eliminated the smog, but we've still got the electro bit there. It's made by a company in Germany, so it's bomb-proof, called Gigahertz Solutions. So if anybody wants to check that out, it's the best one I could find for the price range that I was willing to afford. But it'll check out what you need to know about any microwave pollution. Basically, I'm going to do a test on the local telecommunications tower on Saturday, and I'll probably give Paul the results of that and see what that's chucking out.
We do live in interesting times. I mean, how many ways... Can you think of a way they're not actually having a go at us? Can you think of anything that doesn't involve being attacked?
Attacks coming from all quarters.
God almighty. All I can say is that we've got to do what we've got to do, and we're going to do the best we can. We are in a fight. Whether you believe it for real or whether you just think it's part of the way that we entertain on this station, we are in a fight. And what's a fight called? What's a boxing match called? It's called a bout. Yeah, I call it bout.
Yeah.
And what do we do all day? We talk about stuff.
We do, yeah.
We're in a fight for war and peace, and we need to be very careful what we talk about. Because, first of all, we get put in jail if we make a mess of it. Yeah. But secondly, remember that you're not fighting with people at this level.
No.
This isn't where the fight is.
It is.
Now, we're going to disagree because that has been the magician's skill.
It has.
To make us disagree. So when people say, well, nobody agrees with me, that means it's working. That means the entire spell is working. The magician designed it that way. So you cannot find people to agree with you because there are so many different flavours that are out there. And you want people to like your flavour and vice versa. This fight is going to go on and on and on until we realise it's designed for us to fuss and fight so we don't get anywhere. Disagreeing is healthy. You must do it in a way that allows you to say, I don't agree, but I'm okay with that. And you've got to say, I'm okay with you disagreeing. Shall we move on from here?
Yeah.
Because that allows you to go back and say, do you know what? I didn't think you were right. But it turns out you were. Or vice versa.
Or vice versa, yeah.
And you don't lose face, and you have all your pride intact, because you haven't shut the bloody gate on an alternative. If you slam the gate on an alternative, you can never go back.
No.
Because you've proved yourself to be wrong.
You have, yeah.
You say, I was wrong there, but you've admitted it rather than someone saying, I told you so.
Yeah.
Told you so, told you so, told you so. Yeah, that's so childish, isn't it? Look at the time.
Flown by again.
We haven't done the American elections. And
No.
I don't think the importance of it is not lost on me.
Well,
we're voting for the lesser or greater of two evils. Because they both are puppeted from the same banking mastery. This is the Goldman Sachs election. And I don't think... America's not going to come out of this, and that means that the free world is going to fall.
You said the word done, and we have been.
We bloody have. Now, out of all the national anthems in the world, I think I have my favourite. I think it is the best. It's better than ours. I think it's better than ours. And I'm going to play it. It is time to say goodnight. I couldn't hear myself there for a second. I know America is not England, but together, the Anglo-American partnership, if one falls, the other fall.
It does.
You know, we must not think we're immune. We are not immune from this. So, thank you to everybody for your Tuesday company. It's good night from me, Paul.
And good night from me.
And good night from me.
Good night to everybody. Thanks for listening. See you soon.
You're listening to Critical Mass Radio. Now, it's our turn.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.